A few videos ago, I took a good look at the evidence and decided that it was, in fact, time to discuss the Switch 2 earnestly. I didn't think it was before because I don't like to give genuine attention to anything very far off on the calendar, but it would take something catastrophically wrong to knock this system into 2026, so I think it's now a fair topic. Now, we're even hearing rumblings that this week we'll finally see the initial reveal of the system, and I'm honestly not here to say why that isn't going to happen. Quite the contrary, I think it's a very real possibility, but with a caveat. This is Little Akiba Games. I'm Patrick. Welcome back to the shop. One thing I like to do on my channel is discuss leaks and rumors in great detail, and specifically in the context of other good credible leaks and rumors, to try and form a sort of big picture of what is really going on. Now, I think my doing this has provided a surprisingly accurate picture of how the Switch 2's development has gone thus far, and much to many viewers' chagrin, the timetable involved in it as well. Today, I'm here to talk about two particular such rumors, one extremely indicative that something is about to happen, and another of dubious credibility but signal boosted by someone of a much higher standing. Let's start with Dr. Serkan Toto, a Japanese game consultant, I know, who has proven to be very well connected in the past. His more specific leaks and rumors have a questionable track record, but things get much more interesting when he gets cryptic. Most notably, he called announcements pertaining to The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and of the upcoming Legend of Zelda movie, generally about a week or two before they happened. So it should be noted that last week, on the 16th, he posted another one of his cryptic tweets, simply declaring Switch 2, likely putting any associated reveal later this week or early next. Fairly straightforward, and I would even say probable given his track record in situations like this. Next, we have a 4chan post, I know, that is either associated with the Toto post or piggybacking off of it. This is the polar opposite of Toto's vague divulging of information. This one has specifics. It would hardly qualify as noteworthy, except it got picked up by top-tier leaker NecroFelipe, who has been associated with all manner of good Nintendo information in recent years. For his part, he remained non-committal on the veracity of the contents of the post, but did offer that none of it seemed outlandish when held up to his own understanding of things. This at least gives it some credence. The ability to vet leakers is one that I try to impart to all viewers of this channel. It will help you filter out a ton of the nonsense that infests the Switch 2 narrative and many other parts of the gaming space. Once you learn to ignore your other friend's uncle twice removed who supposedly works at Nintendo, in favor of guys like Nate the Hate, Nash Weedle, and the aforementioned NecroFelipe as just a few examples, who have an established history of delivering reliable information, you'll become far better at filtering out misinformation, even if it puts a dent in your hype level. As an aside, this also makes ambiguous situations like that of sometimes debunked, sometimes celebrated leaker Ryan from the Bronx / Midori / Mystic Distance quite frustrating. As Mystic Distance, the validity of information provided was really spotty. As Midori, it was immaculate. If the leaks were to keep coming from the Ryan from the Bronx account, we'd have to at least give them some attention until proven otherwise. The leaks and rumors scene has been enriched by Midori's presence in it while it lasted, and I would personally welcome Midori back into this space on that track record alone. However, I think it also sends a bad message to other discredited leakers to just rebrand and try again. If too many of them tried that, the aggregate credibility in the community would drop and it would risk becoming too difficult to read the tea leaves, so to speak. We shouldn't be too generous with second chances in that regard. Anyway, with all of that having been said, let's put what NecroFelipe found on 4chan under the microscope. First of all, we're hearing that the Switch 2 is the actual name of the system. There could be something to this, as this is not the first time I've heard about that possibility. I still hope it's Super Nintendo Switch, as that would be a very strong mission statement that harkens back to one of the greatest periods of time in Nintendo history. But let's keep our feet on the ground about it. We live in a world of PlayStation 5s and iPhone 14s where sticking a number on something is the only truly safe way to convey its place in a brand's lineage. It's the same world where Nintendo paid dearly for the Wii U, which was perfectly serviceable as a platform, but an absolute disaster as a message. For the record, I would have gone with Nintendo High Definition Entertainment System, or HDES. It's not hard to imagine why Nintendo might feel skittish about even a slightly more creative name in light of how that all played out. Conversely, I also see some YouTubers out there suggesting that Dr. Toto's post with Switch 2 being in quotation marks supports this possibility as well. I disagree. I read it as, the presentation will reveal what you're all calling the Switch 2 right now. I read it the same way as if someone had, in another world where Twitter existed around the turn of the century, posted Dolphin or Starcube in quotation marks leading up to the GameCube reveal. Our 4chan poster also suggests that our very first impression of the system in action will be a brand new Mario Kart game, featuring characters from Zelda, F-Zero, Star Fox, and Pikmin. This is hardly unbelievable at all. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is one of the best-selling games of all time, and an actual sequel would be one of the safest things Nintendo could release to drive demand for the new system right out of the gate. The part about new characters is intriguing, however. Since Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, hell, since the original Wii U Mario Kart 8 for that matter, I've been of the belief that the series has outgrown the Mario franchise and that it is now on the same path as something like Super Smash Bros., a grand crossover to bring fans of many different franchises together. So you're hearing it first from me, the next Mario Kart, whether it gets revealed imminently as part of the Switch 2 reveal or later on, might not be called Mario Kart at all. This isn't something I'm saying because I've heard it from a source, it's just logic dictating that the next step for Mario Kart is a rebrand to something more fitting for what it has become. Something like Nintendo World Grand Prix or some such. I've seen people call 8-player split screen outlandish, but there's already a Switch racing game that does this. Sega Age's Virtua Racing. It just takes some extra muscle, which the Switch 2 should easily provide, to get a Mario Kart type of game to do the same trick. Next up is a new look at Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which is a game I still don't associate with the Switch 2, but my reasoning could get reframed by the proposed launch timetable that will come up in a moment. Then we have the remake of Kid Icarus Uprising that has been in the rumor mill for at least 2 years now, although this is the first time it has been associated with the Switch 2. We've known that Bandai Namco has been working on some project or another for Nintendo, and the likeliest suspects have been Star Fox Assault or Kid Icarus Uprising. Moreover, Masahiro Sakurai has been teasing a remake on his own YouTube channel, with his channel closing video and a planned major announcement associated with it not having yet aired as of this recording. That is slated to happen on Tuesday, October 22nd, suspiciously close to the likely Switch 2 reveal. Adding intrigue to this is something I just haven't had the time to bring up in a video yet. Word got out last week of a wave of cancellations over at Bandai Namco, which includes that unnamed Nintendo project. Link to Maximilian's video about these cancellations up in the corner. However, if Sakurai's announcement is indeed Kid Icarus Uprising, and it's en route to the Switch 2 rather than the Legacy Switch, that tells me that the game Bandai Namco cancelled is, in fact, Star Fox Assault, and that another studio altogether is working on Uprising. Going over the list of usual suspects, I'm going to say it's Game Arts, but just know that's pure conjecture on my part. I'm going to largely skip past the tiny preview clips because there's nothing terribly surprising here. These types of first-party reveals came with the Switch announcement as well, and obviously the release of next-gen Switch hardware is going to kick off another wave of multi-platform titles that weren't previously possible on a Nintendo system. So that's just a given. That brings us to the suggestion that the system will launch in May around Golden Week time, and the grand opening of Nintendo World in Orlando, admittedly the perfect venue for a launch party, with a proper reveal and preview trailer coming ahead of it in January. This is where the post gets a little suspicious, but not to the point that I'd say it's impossible. If you've been watching this channel for a while, then you know I've been Team 2025 for both the reveal and the launch pretty much off jump. However, at no point did I say that it would be impossible, just horribly ill-advised. Shintaro Furukawa is a rational dude, some would even say to a fault. The same can't necessarily be said for the board of directors, who might be feeling some pressure to get the reveal out of the way ahead of the shareholders meeting next month, and fast-track the launch, particularly in the wake of the factory leak that signals that the system is, in fact, in the mass production stage. If this 4chan leak holds any water, it tells me that the board of directors were so spooked by the factory leak that they want to get out in front of it and take command of the narrative before wishful thinkers can hijack it and set expectations out of control. At least any more than they already have. What doesn't add up to me is the idea that Nintendo doesn't have one last general direct to get us through the holidays. That their big holiday release is, in fact, Mario and Luigi Brothership. Not to speak ill of that game by any stretch of the imagination. But maybe that's the reality we live in. In that event, I would suspect that the January presentation would be the actual planned unveiling that they initially gave themselves to the end of March to release. What really makes me uncomfortable is the suggestion of a May launch. Revealing the system ahead of schedule is not going to get the hardware produced any faster or the software developed any earlier. If you know anything about game development, you know why that just doesn't add up for me. I've said it before. They could have absolutely launched the system this holiday season, but you'd be playing a bunch of current Switch games on it and maybe some gimmicky shovelware to play around with a new hardware feature or two. The same largely applies to May 2025, just not quite as severely. There is simply no scenario in which the dev kits landed in developers' hands in summer 2023, and that they could be reasonably expected to produce a launch lineup of fully realized titles in less than 2 years. At least take it to September or October to give these games 2 full years of development and time to go gold. You're still not going to find any Breath of the Wild or Super Mario Odyssey caliber titles in that mix, but at least there'd actually be some stuff to sink your teeth into. With all that said, while I find the 4chan post to depict a less than ideal turn of events, I'll join Necrofelipe in agreeing that it's entirely possible that things play out this way. Hopefully, if it does, it at least doesn't result in a 3DS-level catastrophe that leads to the company declaring an immediate price drop, issuing apologies, and performing certain favors for the early adopters. It was big of them to do all that at the time, but even better would have been a launch situation that didn't call for that at all. As for what I want to see, I'm hoping that the dual Indie World and Partner showcases held in August were the result of Nintendo having an entire other presentation ready to go. Not this shotgun Switch 2 reveal, but a general direct. However, I will go as far as to say that I think the reveal, driven by urgency caused by the factory leak, is a likelihood, if not necessarily set in stone. I consider it to be an audible and not the original plan. Therefore, my revised timetable, agreeing with Dr. Toto but disregarding the 4chan post until proven otherwise, is as follows. 1. Switch 2 teaser this week. I think we can all agree on that at this point while disagreeing on whether or not it had anything to do with the original plans at Nintendo. 2. General Fall Nintendo Direct in early to mid-November to get at least one more holiday title on the radar and set the table for the first part of next year. This would have been the September presentation, but an abundance of news, specifically the Indie World Partner Showcase, moved things around. No Switch 2 software. 3. 40-minute Partner Showcase in February to fill out the calendar in the lead up to the Switch 2 launch and get us back on the standard February, June, September presentation cadence. This part is probably going to be controversial, but again, no Switch 2 software. 4. Full Switch 2 reveal presentation in March. This will detail the launch lineup, give us a launch date, maybe even a price tag. This is the presentation I believe they were talking about when they initially committed to a system reveal in this fiscal year. Yes, you could convince me that they'll move it back to January. No, I do not think that would change anything for the February Direct and the information therein. 5. General Summer Nintendo Direct in June to provide the first deep dive on the Switch 2 launch lineup, and even showcase some of the games we'll be getting our hands on in the ensuing months. This will be the first Switch 2 Direct, but also include a good number of legacy Switch games, because we're obviously not just going to stop gaming throughout the summer with bated breath. We will need stuff to play. Finally, the September 2025 presentation should be an unprecedented hour-plus Indie World, Partner Showcase, and General Direct, ideally landing on launch day. Get your system home, hook it up, play a few games, and then sit down with friends and family to check out Nintendo's game plan for the first 6 months or so. There should be at least one big surprise holiday release in this show, if not 2. While this presentation should entirely be focused on the Switch 2, it should also be made clear that the legacy Switch is not done in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Video on that forthcoming. I try to avoid idealistic nonsense, but a big Nintendo Direct party to celebrate the Switch 2 launch is just too good to not put out there in the ether. Obviously, it's the least likely of my predictions to come to pass, but even I have to throw a Hail Mary at least once in a while, so I hope you'll indulge me on that. For all of my hopes that it would take a long time, I've said all along that when we were genuinely on the road to Switch 2, I would be right there with you all to enjoy the ride. I can at least agree that we are now indeed on the road to Switch 2, and I'm going to make good on my belief that it's now a valid topic of conversation. There is so much I want to talk about regarding this system that I've been holding back on, just because I genuinely believed that it was too far down the calendar to engage in any meaningful speculation about it. No matter what finds its way into the news, I always try to focus entirely on what's going to be in our hands within the next 12 months. Friends, we have arrived. That's all for now. If you like this video, then please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to send a message to YouTube that there's a good thing going on over here. Click the notification bell and the all option associated with it if you really want to support this channel, whether I'm talking about the Switch 2 or not. And do this with every channel you want to support, even if mine isn't one of them. These practices will make for a better YouTube in the long run, and that's something we should all be contributing to. In any case, I look forward to seeing you back here next time at Little Akiba Games.